Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to today's Caffeine for the Soul. And today's episode is part 2 of a 2-part exploration of the nature of innate genius, the nature of the intersection between the intelligence behind life and our own unique interpretation of that intelligence, the mind behind the brain and its intersection with the brain. And so in part 1, we talked about the first 3 hashtags of innate genius, that genius is infinite, it's impersonal, and it's responsive. And I finished part 1 by sort of pondering a question. Why is it, given how much we love living in the flow of creative genius, that we don't spend more of our time doing it? And I honestly think that the reason we so rarely turn to our innate genius in normal life, and we only go to it in extremes, is we can't see the cause effect. We can't see that there is a direct connection between this invisible intelligence and the things that occur to us to do in our daily life. And that's why the 4th hashtag of innate genius is hashtag genius is reliable. We don't trust that the mind just works where something comes from nothing, where we don't know and then we know. We don't trust that hanging out in the unknown is how new things become visible. And so we look for something more reliable, like a best practice. What's your best practice for this? What's the best practice for that? We use brainstorming tools. We try to access our intuition, not seeing that there is nothing more ordinary than genius. Because if genius is infinite, impersonal, and responsive, it has to also be always available. So in Creating the Impossible, I wrote this as a rule of thumb. As you begin moving in the direction of your dreams, the emergence of fresh new thinking and unexpected synchronicities, in other words, luck, is 100% reliable and 98% unpredictable. The more you see it, the more you rely on it. The more you rely on it, the more reliable you recognize it to be. But I don't know if I'll ever fully trust it. I don't know if you will ever fully trust it, simply because it shows up in such unpredictable ways. So I have a friend who was teaching the principles at an aerospace company. And he was talking to one of the engineers, and that engineer was the head of a team that had learned to rely on this innate genius, this deeper mind, as their ultimate problem-solving tool. And the engineer said to him, every time we give up on working things out with our intellect and turn them over to the deeper mind, it always works. But somehow, even after all these years of doing it, we're always still surprised that it works. And for me, that does raise another question. Why is it that genius can show up in such unpredictable ways? And my response to that question is the 5th hashtag. Hashtag genius is alive. I love the Tao Te Ching, and I think it's one of the most beautiful books ever written, one of the simplest spiritual texts I've ever come across. And there's a passage in there. If you open yourself to the Tao, and the Tao is the way, the path, the unfolding of innate genius. If you open yourself to the Tao, you are at one with the Tao, and you can embody it completely. If you open yourself to insight, you are at one with insight, and you can use it completely. Open yourself to the Tao, then trust your natural responses, and everything will fall into place. So when I'm introducing these ideas, particularly in corporate settings, I often use the term real-time responsive intelligence, synonymously with genius. It's a kind of a living wisdom, and it's always available to us in the moment, but it's only rarely available when we're trying to look too far into the past or plan too far ahead into the future. And one of the ways that I put it a little more colloquially is, look, it's easy to eat what's on your plate right now, But it's impossible to eat what was on your plate yesterday, and it's impossible to eat what you think will be on your plate tomorrow. And that's why it's real time. We don't know what we'll think 10 days from now. We don't know what we'll think if we find ourselves in this happening, or that happens, or this goes wrong, or this goes right. But we don't need to. Because the more we're in touch with this, the less we need the 5-step plan, the less we need the rules and regulations, the less we need to know, yeah, but what'll I do if this happens? And what'll I do if this happens? The less in touch we are with it, the more we need the rules, the more we need the 5-year plans, the more we need the strategies. So when we're in touch with the genius inside us, our own innate genius, this impersonal, responsive intelligence, the more we act appropriately in the moment, and the more things seem to work out as if by design. Now, I shared this once at a business conference, and the room was full of CEOs and entrepreneurs and small business owners and large business owners, and one person raised their hand and said, well, if we get things wrong in our business, there are very real-world consequences. But it sounds like you're telling us we should just fly by the seat of our pants. Isn't that irresponsible? And my response was tongue-in-cheek, but it was also true. I said, I'm not saying that you should fly by the seat of your pants. I'm saying that the seat of your pants has wings. In other words, the mind is made to work beautifully, creatively, and responsively in real time. The energy and intelligence behind life is the very thing that our lives are made of. And from my point of view, to use the mind the way it's designed to work anyways is the most responsible use of the mind there is. Have fun, learn heaps, and I'll talk to you soon.